we are living the life of our frequency. Your body will tell you, it speaks so loud if you just listen to it.
But the important thing for you is to realize that that's the system and to question everything.
I never read an ingredient. I didn't know I had to read an ingredient. I thought I could go and trust that the manufacturers and the FDA were all doing their job. We own our health. It's our decision.
Welcome, everybody, to the Power of Your Voice podcast. And I'm your host, Mike Murphy. And a little different today. I'm not coming to you from my apartment in Medellin. We are up here at Mountains of Hope, our retreat center that is for healing and for transformation that lasts. And I have to tell you, it's an amazing, beautiful day here. I feel like it's always beautiful here in Medellin, or right now we're in Rio Negro, Colombia, only 15 minutes from the Medellin airport. But today is so special and beautiful. And I have to tell you, one of the things that I love doing here at Mountains of Hope, I did it this morning with the general manager here, Tim. We went down. We have a infrared sauna that comes from Finland. And, of course, the infrared, but with very unique wood that doesn't get hot, but you're getting this infrared heat. But then there's like, I don't know, at least 100 rocks in this big basket in the middle of this thing. So as the room heats up, of course, the rocks heat up. And then we take some water and we pour it on the rocks. And, bam, it's like a super steam sauna with infrared heat. And we do that for 15 minutes. And we are, like, really sweating. It's very hot. So we know we're detoxing our body and getting all this toxicity out. Then we get out of there and we go and jump. We have a cold water plunge, which is about 45, 50 degrees. And we jump in there. And we have a woman here from Costa Rica that stayed in that 45-degree water for like 8 minutes this morning. So, and I guess her husband can even fall asleep in these things. For me, it's pretty darn cold. And we have coming next month, we also have an ice bath. So that'll go down to about 33 degrees, and we'll actually fill it with real ice. So that'll be quite the experience. So I invite you to check out Mountains of Hope. We got a beautiful retreat happening right now, and we're having the time of our lives because we're conscious, we're aware, we're present, we're detoxing our body, we're putting in amazing food. We grow over 50 different vegetables here and amazing water. And we're getting healthier by the second, and our cells are loving it. You know, we're made up of 50 trillion individual living conscious cells that sing when we take care of this vessel called our body. And when we don't take care of it, it leads us to illness and disease. So that's why Mountains of Hope exists. But the topic for today's show is, can we really heal ourselves? Is everything we need already within where we can heal ourselves? And we have a special guest today that had her own medical crisis and found healing through a myriad of different ways. And I'm so excited to welcome her. She's a beautiful woman from San Francisco Bay Area, Reena Jadhav. And Reena, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mike. I am absolutely delighted to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you here. And so, first of all, I know you chose to do water fast when you got here in Mountains of Hope on Saturday.
Yes.
And so, first of all, what's your first impression of Mountains of Hope and your experience up to this point?
It's the dream that I've been having for about a decade.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got sick, that was cancer, all I could think of, I need a place to run away to that will take care of me. They'll give me some green juice, and they'll make sure I don't eat junk food, and they'll give me a massage, and they'll take all the stress off of me, and I don't have to deal with chores. And I kept telling my husband, can I just go check into a hotel? Like, maybe that's a start, right? Like, I have to exit this environment in order for me to heal. And that is actually what I had done. I had taken off and gone to Houston. So when I come here, I feel misty-eyed because you've actually birthed Blissvana. You've birthed the vision where people can come and actually heal.
Well, thank you for that. And that was motivated by cancer. So that's why it exists, to help people get over cancer. So let's talk about your cancer, but let's talk about what you were doing before, work-wise, and how much stress was involved in that. What were you doing before your diagnosis?
So typical type A personality, did a bunch of startups. I'm a Harvard MBA, and as soon as I graduated, we were in that 1998 massive internet boom. So of course, all of us had to get out and start a company, and I was one of those. So I did, startup 1, startup 2. In the meantime, I also got married and popped out a baby. And, ancient cultures knew this. Women should not work immediately after birthing.
Right.
They need to take time off. So in China, they take a year off because they believe that it depletes your qi. And so the woman needs her kidney qi back, and it takes about a year. In India, I know, 45 days to a year as well. Australia, same. Here in America, I was breastfeeding and doing my first board meeting. And so I did that. And then I did a third startup. And in my third startup is when I started to have visions that I had colon cancer. And I was 35.
You were having visions of this.
I had visions.
So, real quick, I'm sensing that you're tuned in, and you're tuned into your body, and you're tuned into spirit, and to have visions to diagnose something like that.
I didn't know that's what it was. All I knew was that suddenly I started looking at my poop in the water, which I had never done before. And suddenly I would see huge red stains.
Like
on
blood.
Blood, exactly, on the poop. And I've always had no issues with bowel. And I thought, this is kind of odd. And it continued for, it was crazy schedule, but it continued. And I remember I was traveling to Chicago. And that was the first time, and I started having hot flashes at night, night sweats. And I Googled, and it said colon cancer, colon cancer, colon cancer. And I said, colon cancer, huh? Anyway, I come back, I go see my primary, and I say, I think I have colon cancer. And she goes, "Oh, don't be ridiculous, because I was a very skinny, vegetarian, Indian woman. That's not the profile for colon cancer. So she goes, don't be ridiculous. It's probably hemorrhoids. Let's do a quick check. She does a quick check. She goes, yep, it's just hemorrhoids. You've had kids. Like, this is normal. I go home, and it continues. Wow. And then the voice, I'm pumping gas. I no longer drive gas cars. I'm all electric. But in those days, I had a gas car, and I remember standing at a pump, pumping. And it was this clear as day. I have colon cancer. And I need to go get it fixed. Like, it was so clear. And so I go back to my primary. I said, no, I'm telling you I have colon cancer. And she says, oh my God, this crazy Indian woman is going to bug me. So she goes, you know what? I'm going to refer you to Dr. Shelby. He's a colonoscopy doctor close by, and he'll reassure you that there's nothing wrong with you. So I walk into his office. Dr. Shelby, I have colon cancer. And again, he looks at me and goes, you're not an old white man. Why do you think you have colon cancer? That's my profile. I said, I'm telling you, I've been seeing blood on my stool. I've been having hot flashes. And anyway, long story short, bless his heart. He says, you're 35. I can't do colonoscopy on you. You know that, right? So we got to figure this insurance situation.
Why can't they?
Because the age for colonoscopy was over 50.
But even if they suspect illness?
So even if they suspect, because if you're 35, you should not be suspected.
I have to ask something real quick. Is Dr. Shelby in San Ramon?
Yes.
So how about this, folks? Okay, we're in Rio Negro, Colombia, in South America. And Dr. Shelby did my colonoscopy.
No way.
Yeah, maybe 10 years ago. But anyway, so small world.
He's the guy.
So anyways,
so I go into him.
How do you get the diagnosis?
He does his colonoscopy. He somehow figures out how to get me in. He gets me in. I come out, and he's telling my husband, I'm coming out of anesthesia, and he's telling my husband, see, I told you everything's fine. We just found a couple of polyps. It's all good. She'll be fine. Take her home. Next day, I was the head of US for this big company, and I had an interview with Forbes. And I'm sitting in my car, and I got the call. You need to come right now. And I said, I don't understand. I'm about to be interviewed on TV. Like, no, I can't come right now. You need to come right now. I can't tell you why, but you need to come now. Please tell me. Think about it. Why do you think I would be telling you to come right now? Come right now. I proceeded to go do my interview. That interview was still on the internet. And then I drove, and of course, he was completely freaking out. Bless his heart. He's like, I don't understand. It was just a polyp, but it's not a polyp. It's actually a very aggressive form of cancer. And you are so lucky, but I didn't get clear margins. And so you need to get in there now.
So when he cut the polyp up, he didn't get but he didn't think it was cancer. So he would have cut more if he thought it was cancer.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So we
get back how soon was it surgery once you?
So then started the whole drama of everyone around me freaking out, going, we need to find the right doctor. And again, I'm the most blessed person on this planet. I kid you not. Zach Renat, my husband's boss, but also a dear friend of my dad's and someone I've known for a while, got involved and said, nope, we're going to find you the best doctor, oncologist, surgeon in Stanford. And so we had to switch me so I could be at Stanford so I could get surgery done by the number one colon surgeon in Stanford with a bunch of, residents trailing. So I ended up having surgery about 3 weeks later.
Wow. The synchronicities. My wife was treated for breast cancer at Stanford, so we have a lot of synchronicities going on right here. So, okay. So you have surgery and chemo, radiation, or
Nope, it was stage 1.
Stage 1. So
It was
that's good. So
stage
you just
1.
needed surgery. Boom.
I needed surgery and boom. Yeah, but then they did the genetic test marker and it was negative. I mean, there's no cancer in my family.
So what do you think caused this?
So once I found out where it was the laptop battery that would sit on my belly. So I got into this bad habit after my second child was born. I had to take some month, about 30 days off, and I worked from home. And I would put the laptop on my belly, not on a pillow.
Right.
And literally where it would have been is where the cancer was. So I've been on this crusade to get people to stop putting laptops on their bodies. We know somebody else who got cancer in their legs. Who gets that? Well, if you put your laptop like on your legs, on your, right
Pure
here,
radiation.
it's pure radiation. And, people will respond. Same for cell phone. I have a dear friend, she's a mayor, and her daughter had a brain tumor and, a breast cancer. And she believes that, because she would put the phone
In her bra.
I
see that all the time. Drives me
right?
crazy. Yeah.
So it drives me crazy. Exactly. So one of the things, if all of us could just somehow get the word out to people that are listening, don't put technology near you.
Yep.
It was never meant to be. It comes with disclaimers.
So for you guys watching and listening, please share this with everyone you know.
Yes.
Because this is not a joke. I mean, if you have this thing up to I only use speaker, okay? I don't put it here. There's so many documented cases of brain tumors based on this, right? And when I occasionally work in my bed and I use my laptop, I put a pillow over it. But the truth of the matter is, we got to be very careful with this stuff, and especially with small children that aren't fully developed yet. So please share this with everybody, because this is a real subject matter that's hurting a lot of people.
It's life and death, and may I suggest, instead of a pillow, it's called Simply Safe. I'm not associated with them. I'm not an investor in them, so no connection. Simply Safe is something I use. So my cell phone case is a Simply Safe case where it protects on the back, but more importantly, they have a laptop base that you can
Covers
purchase.
the top.
And so you put that on you, and then you put the laptop on top, and again, that transmutes the radiation. I still say put it on a desk. It was always meant to be on a desk. It was never meant to be this close to you.
Yeah. Another good tip, folks. Okay, so now first of all, I understand it was caused by outside interference toxicity, the cancer. Do you think that the stress of your lifestyle played any role in that?
Absolutely.
By diminishing your immune system,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So people always say, well, in that case, everyone would be dying of cancer from laptops, and they don't.
Right.
Well, that's because their immune systems must be much stronger than mine.
Right.
And of course, having a baby is stressful, but then having a baby and working, I was working Israeli hours. So I would be up all day and then half the night.
Yeah.
And so I would get about 4 or 5 hours of sleep. So of course I had no immune system. And in those days I was not awakened. So I didn't know that having, a coffee with brownie for breakfast is not smart. I'm a sugar addict.
Right.
So it was just, a lot of things stacked on top to create the worst nightmare come true.
Okay, so let's follow up on that last statement. You weren't awakened. So now I assume that you are. So what was the catalyst to wake you, and what has that awakening meant in your life?
I think I'm still on my journey to awakening. I don't think we are ever fully awakened, because that's, I think, the beauty of this experience is that you're learning every day something new. But to the extent that I didn't know that everyone was out to poison me, and it was my responsibility
Right.
to take care of me. So that was my first awakening. Oh my God. I didn't know that these ingredients were bad. I never read an ingredient. I didn't know I had to read an ingredient. I thought I could go and trust that the manufacturers and the FDA were all doing their job. So that was my first awakening. My second awakening was actually around the body itself. You don't think about this body much. I mean, we're taught some classes, biology here, there, whatever. But how often do we sit down and just go inside and say, who are you? What are you? What makes you tick? What do you need? And understanding that and understanding, my God, I am no different than a tree or a blade of grass. So what I need is sun. What I need is air. What I need is fresh food from the soil. I don't need things in packages.
Right.
If I eat a package, that's not food.
Right.
So my body was starving, and I didn't even know this, that I had probably been starving my body for a while eating packaged foods.
Yep.
So that was another awakening. The fact that there's something called a spirit that guides us and that looks after us, but you have to listen to it. And I was blessed that I was listening to this voice telling me, you have colon cancer, you have colon cancer, you have colon cancer, because most people would have just ignored it. And here I was banging the door going, I think I have colon cancer. I can figure it out. Listening to the spirit, it's become an important part of my life. Meditating, calming down. So many different things that I've realized. Water. I mean, I don't touch tap water. I'm convinced half of the problem was the tap water because the tap water is poison. It's pure poison. You can look at any study online in terms of what it has. No one should be ingesting this.
Right.
So, air is toxic, water is toxic, glyphosate, GMO. Then they've got all these chemicals and colors, and caramel color was banned, but it's actually still allowed. We own our health, and we have to understand that it's our decision to take care of this temple, because this is a temple, and God does reside in it. It really does. Spirit is here, and so you have to treat it the way spirit would want to be treated.
You guys, this is one of the most important things you can ever hear. I was around that medical profession for 15 years or so with my wife and my parents, and you have to take responsibility for your own health, and you have to be your own advocate, and hopefully you have a partner who will be an advocate with you and help you. But listen, I used to be a car dealer, and we had a service department. And when you brought your car into service, our guys were trained to find something wrong so we could sell you something, and that's how we ate. Well, the medical doctors are the same way. You go there, and their job is find something wrong and sell you something, typically a prescription in today's world, and that's how they eat. So that's just the system. There's no blame. There's no finger pointing. That is the system. But the important thing for you is to realize that that's the system, and to question everything and be cynical, and more importantly, trust your gut and follow your heart when it comes to the matters of your health. And what Reena just said, water, good nutrition, food doesn't grow in a box, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I had to give that little because I'm as passionate as you. I'm as passionate as you.
It's so important. But in fairness, it's so freaking hard, Mike.
It is hard.
The bullying I get on a daily basis for being different, because the moment you choose this path, you become different. You become strange, weird. She cooks her own food and takes it to places. And you really have to, as a big part of this path, you have to say, I am going to honor me and never let someone else tell me that what I'm doing is wrong. And never let someone else bully me into becoming as weak as they are. Because that's what I've realized. The reason people bully you is because they can't do it.
Yes.
And so they need you to join them. And it's important for you to stand your ground and be the role model that more people can follow you instead of you giving up and following them.
And that's one reason that it's difficult. But the other reason it's difficult is say, okay, I'm going to embrace this. And then there's someone over here saying that's no good. Embrace this. And then there's someone saying that's no good.
Yes.
And that's where the confusion comes in.
I have the answer to that.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm. My pleasure.
That was the hardest year and a half of my life.
The research.
Yes. My second health crisis. So I got over colon cancer and, of course, went right back to my day job of multiple startups and insanity and my typical type A behavior. And sure enough, 5 years later, at 45, actually, I'm sorry, 10 years later, 45, I had my second health crisis. This time I had about 30 symptoms. It started very slow, very hives all over, and then it grew from hives to this finger would get white and numb, and no one could figure out what was going on. And then from there, it went to I had these black lines on my palms, so I had these very visible black lines. So that was weird. And then my hair started falling. Then I couldn't remember why I was in a room, so clearly I was having memory issues. So all these insane 30 symptoms started. Super crazy anxiety where I would start hyperventilating, and I've never had anxiety in my life. And if I would even drink hot water, I would blow up. So everything was a reaction.
Wow.
And the worst was I started losing about a pound every 2 days. So I got down to about 95 pounds.
Man.
So I'm now 120, right? So you can imagine me being like that much
Scarecrow.
thinner. It was a scarecrow. My husband, I remember him like his eyes bugging out, going, I can't look at you anymore. Like, this is really scary. Like, you need to fix something. What do we do? The doctors, bless their heart, did every standardized test and came back and said, you're the healthiest sick person we know. All your markers are normal. I had no autoimmune markers. I had no markers at all. I was in perfect range. So they said, well, we think maybe it's psychosomatic. Maybe you're depressed. And that's when I kind of took charge and said, well, I know I'm not depressed, and I know this is not psychosomatic. So I've got to figure this out. And I treated it like a startup. And so my first thing was, I'm going to start doing research. Someone's got to know. Someone else has got to have been sick like me and have figured it out. So I started a podcast so I could interview the best of the best, because I knew they wouldn't just talk to me. So I had to do a podcast. It's called healthierpodcast.com.
Okay.
And I've interviewed over 110 of the world's leading top best-selling authors and MDs and researchers and scientists. So everyone from Dr. Dean Ornish to Mark Hyman to Dr. Joel Kahn to Dr. Lee Aaron Keneally, name it, I've interviewed them. Daniel Ammon, all of them. And I would get so confused because someone's a vegan, someone's talking about meat, keto, and that was the big split, right?
Yes.
The keto solves all problems,
Right.
and the vegan, plant-based.
Or raw.
And then there was the raw
Right.
vegan movement, right?
Then there's the fish and vegan.
Yeah, so there was these multitudes. So I've always been a biohacker. So I started biohacking on myself right after cancer. I would start testing myself. Like, I've done all of it. So I said, I'm going to try it all. So I've done 3 months of a keto diet, 3 months of raw vegan, 3 months. I've done it all. And what I've reached this conclusion. Number one, there is no single diet for everyone. That is a falsehood.
Right.
And I want everyone to stop saying that. I want every expert to stop saying my diet is the best for everyone, because
Right.
it's not true. Number two, the same diet is not even right for you over your lifetime.
There you go.
You have to figure out where, and which is why connecting with your soul and your body is the only way. Your body will tell you. It speaks so loud if you just listen to it.
Wow.
What do you want today? I'm feeling like you need some pineapple juice and cucumber juice, right? Like, give me that. And give me like 84 ounces of it. Like, it's so loud when you listen to your body. I swear to God, you don't have to listen to anybody else. With that said, the only diets that anyone should follow are, in my opinion, pure.
Say that again. Pure.
Soil-based. And if you're going to do fish, it needs to be wild caught, not wild caught, because they figured out how to sell you farmed fish.
They call it wild.
Under the title wild. What they do is they farm raise it, then they throw it down a river and about
Catch
20
it again.
feet, and they catch it, and then they call it wild. So it needs to be wild caught, and it needs to be something that's low in mercury and metals. You don't need those things in your body. It's sad that we've poisoned our sea, we've poisoned our ocean, we've poisoned our farms. So you have to take charge of the fact that what you put in your mouth needs to be pure. So what I do is I go to the farmer's market. And I did very quick research to find, hey, what are the farms around here that I can physically go visit? And I can make sure that they're actually selling what they claim they're selling. Very easy to do. It's like, it'll take 10 minutes of your time, right? Make the call, find a local farmer that you resonate with, and then, boy, support them. They need us, which is the other thing. They really
Because
need our support.
they're slim and far between,
Yes.
because the big corporations are taking
Yes.
over everything.
Yes, and everything's getting more and more expensive. but they can't raise their prices because we consumers are so cheap when it comes to our food.
Right.
It's like we have a brain fog when it comes to our food prices versus we'll buy some silly brand purse and some silly branded shoes, but we won't spend money on food. Like we want the
Crazy.
cheapest Walmart, grocery aisle food. So switch how you think about that. Switch about where you are spending your money and go find your diet. How do you decide what do I eat? Find pure, fresh food and then cook some, eat some raw, juice some, and that's your meal. Don't overthink it. I think everything that's being overthought, overcomplicated, over-researched, it's not needed.
Yeah. And you mentioned something about this diet might be good when you're a teenager. That diet might be good in your
Yes.
20s or when you're having babies. And then it's evolved. And
Yes.
everybody's trying to get everybody on one plan. It's like
Yes.
religion. It's our
Yes.
religion or you die. And it's like, no,
No.
and we have to listen to our body. The problem is, in my opinion, is that way too many people live in their head. And in your head, you're dead.
Yes.
But when you move to your heart, now you start listening to your body in this, and you realize that you're not your body. It's a vessel that was given to you temporarily to hold your soul, your essence, who you really are, and until you leave it. But if we don't maintain it, I find that when I have low physical energy, I can't be as sharp spiritually, emotionally, mentally, So I always say, Jesus came here with a great message. Perhaps he's a great prophet. Perhaps he's son of God. But if Mary and Joseph would have fed him Big Macs and ding dongs all day long, the guy never would have gotten off the couch in Bethlehem
hell
to save
no.
the world.
Oh, hell no.
So that's why we have to work on, even though this isn't us, we have to maintain this so that our soul and our purpose can flourish here.
100%. And that's when I get into the whole conspiracy theorists who say, why would someone poison their people? Like when I think of myself, I always think like if I was the president of a country or if I was the head of the,
Right.
I'd be like a parent.
Right.
I'd be like, these are my kids and I need them to be healthy.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't poison them.
Right.
So who decided that it was okay to poison us? There's a teenager who died of a lemonade. I won't take the name of the restaurant in case they were going to run around suing people. But there's a restaurant, very famous chain, that had a lemonade with caffeine in it. And this teenager has died of an overdose because of the amount of caffeine in that lemonade should
Wow.
never have been acceptable. Who are the people that are making decisions to create or 60 spoons of sugar in a, frappuccino or whatever, right? The
24-ounce Coke. I mean,
Exactly. Who's permitting this? And they say, oh, well, we're a democracy, let people decide. I'm sorry, but that does not apply to poisoning people and then saying, well, it's their choice to poison themselves. That's not true at all. I don't know anyone who knowingly decides to poison themselves.
No, they don't. And that's why I feel so bad for Americans right now,
Yes.
because they are intentionally being poisoned by
Yes.
big food, big pharma. And I think it's 70% are overweight or obese. And it's very sad when I go there. But I'll answer your question, who would do that? A corporation. Because a corporation is not an individual. See, we have a heart and soul. And in going back in time, that restaurant was owned by a local guy, your neighbor. So he's not going to allow that to go on because he has a conscience, he has a heart, he has a soul, he has customers, he wants to take care of it, he wants to raise his family, he wants to live in that community. A corporation has no heart and soul. And if you look at the world, especially in the last 20, 30 years, everything is being gobbled up by corporations. And then when you look at who owns the shares of those corporations, you can boil it down to 3 companies. And they have one obligation, and that's a return on investment for their shareholders. And they can lie, cheat, steal. There's no integrity. There's no character. They've gotten so wealthy that they own the government, so they get the regulations. They're able to hire people to make fake studies. And so we're at a severe disadvantage right now. So when it comes to that. So that's why it's so important to be in your heart and listen to your gut. Trust your gut instinct. Follow your heart. And use this supercomputer, do your research, but follow this.
And vote with your money because I
there you
promise
go.
you,
Amen.
if you start buying things that are pure and clean and organic, the corporations will change.
Yes.
Because they have to follow the money. We hold so much power that we
Yes.
don't use.
Yes. But with that said, they've almost annihilated the middle class.
Yeah.
So now it's the very wealthy
Yes.
and a
Yes.
lot of poor.
Yes.
And guess what? A lot of poor can't go to the farmer's market.
Yes.
Don't even have time to do that. And so the whole thing is falling off the rails, right? So
It really has.
it's probably going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
And that's just the way the world works, the nature and cycles. But then we can usher back into this world a new consciousness based on community and integrity and love. And that's what I love about Mountains of Hope. Is we grow over 50 different vegetables here. I mean, when you eat this food or drink this juice, I mean, it's just sun rich, full of photons, and so good for our body.
I loved the farm. I don't know if you know this, but Alex, bless her heart, and I went, and I, of course, took my shoes off. I went barefoot, and we climbed over the fence, and we went into the mud, and we walked all around. We slip in here, slide in there, and we saw the zucchinis and the cabbages that had been pulled out. It warmed my heart so much. And I was telling Tim, I'm like, do you need a food picker tomorrow? Like, use me. I'm happy to go out with a basket and, pick some of the food. This is, to me, part of what you're bringing to your community that comes here.
Yes.
Is this opportunity to get their hands in the soil, get their feet in the soil, and then to pick the vegetable that they're going to consume. That nutrition, that nourishment is going to be 1,000 times brighter than when you buy something that you have no relationship with. We've lost relationship with our food and understanding how you pray to the food, you accept that food, and then your body just inhales it. It just soaks in all the light. So if you want to be light, and so many people out there are waking up and they're saying, I want to be light, I don't want to be dark, start with food.
Yeah.
Start with food, because that is pure light. My diet recommendation, so I get asked a lot. So I have a bunch of startup, I have healcircle.org, and I have communities, and I have WhatsApp groups, and I've run programs. And the standard question I always get asked is, can you just give me one day? Give me a day. What should I do in a given day? And I say, okay, first of all, what do I need to not eat? First of all, never worry about what the don'ts, because I never come from the don't. You got to come from the do. So I said, do the do's and don't worry about the don'ts. If you want to have coffee, you want to have red meat, have whatever you want, but first do the do's. And what are the do's? They're so simple. Start your day with green juice, which I love. We walk in and that's been my mantra. My whole family, start your day with green juice, whether it's hell or high water or whatever is happening in your life. The first thing you put in your mouth is green juice with a little thanks to the juice. I love the medical medium. He talks about celery juice. Yeah. So if you're ready to heal, do celery juice. Empty stomach, celery juice, wait an hour, and then start your day. I don't care what frappuccino you have after that. No problem. Have whatever you want, but start your day with that. Next, in your lunch, again, I don't care what you're eating. In your lunch, 50% of what you're eating has to be a raw salad. And that salad has to have 3 colors. So again, I don't care what you're putting in there. Pick your favorite 3 colors. You want to do tomatoes, olives, and romaine lettuce, do that. You want to do carrots, cucumbers, and beetroot, do that. Do what makes you happy. But there's got to be 50% salad. That's going to help your gut. That's going to, again, bring light into you and give you the strength to get through that 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. crash.
Yeah.
Have another green juice. Yeah. Have an apple. Apples are like remember the whole cliche?
The apple a day keeps the doctor away.
There is so much science to that. Oh my God, there is so much science to what it does in terms of even cooked apples. So if you have a sweet tooth like me, make a stewed apple. Have that at 4 p.m. with some cinnamon and some cloves. Wow. And then your dinner, don't eat after 8 p.m. unless it's the weekend. So your weekends are off, but 4 or 5 days a week, you're done with dinner. Latest 8, I try to be done by 6 p.m. And your dinner, try to make it soupy. So, and it can be a heavy soup. It can be like a tomka soup, right? It can be wholesome and big, but try to not have pizza for dinner. So you want to have pizza, go for it. Have it at lunch. Your dinner, make it something lighter. And that's it. I don't care what else you're eating. If you can just stick to this and then do intermittent fasting, so finish by 8, and then don't have your green juice until maybe 10 or 11. Again, I'm not saying do an 18-hour fast, which is kind of what I do, right? I do 18-hour fasts. You can do a 14-hour fast, 14, 16 hours. These are so doable. And now you don't have to worry about this and that and blah, 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 and my nutrition, my macros and my macros. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get upset with me and say, what do you mean? Like, that's not right. But I'm telling you, if you follow this, your health will start to improve in ways that you cannot imagine in about 30 days.
Let's talk about intermittent fasting. So you wake up, you have your green juice, and then you're going on 18 hours. So I don't know when you quit the night before, but now you've had the green juice. So when you typically have one meal, like afternoon, early?
I did one meal, and OMAD,
Too much?
and it screwed up me mentally.
Okay.
Because what happens is initially you started slowly fine. 6 months, I was doing one meal a day and I was doing it around 3 to 4 p.m.
Right.
That was my one meal.
Yeah.
You know what happens? Your body gets clever. And suddenly I was eating from 2 to 4, and then it became 1 to 4. And then it became I was eating like 10,000 calories between 1 to 4 because my body was like, oh my God, she's not going to,
Right. Right.
It became this game. And I caught myself going, whoa, this is not healthy. So what I've realized is, again, if you're a young male, OMAD may be perfect. If you're a menopaused woman, it's terrible. Don't do it. Don't listen to anybody who's telling you anything about it. It's for our hormones, for the female hormones. You've got to monitor how your body's reacting to fasting. So even for me, I don't do intermittent fast every day. I do it the days that I feel good. If I'm feeling not good,
You eat.
you better believe I'm eating. Yeah.
You keep mentioning OMAD. That's what?
One meal a day.
One meal a day. Okay.
Yeah.
Because, you bring up another good point, because there are people that can do that easily and it feels good and it
Yes.
works for them.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
But if you try it and it doesn't feel good, doesn't work for you, then
Yes.
switch gears. Okay. This is your life, your body, your consciousness, your existence, and you have to honor yourself. And so you bring up a lot about being in touch with your body. And I sense that you've always kind of been a little that way, but now you're just fully embraced with being present and in your body.
It's interesting now that I look back at my life, and I've been doing a lot of introspection and connecting dots. And I think that's part of the waking up is like, who am I? When I started asking that question, who am I? And I started looking at kind of the whole journey up till now. I was, I think, 4 years old, and I have vivid recollection of sitting in the center on the floor of my parents' bedroom crying because fish was being fried and I couldn't stand it. And I remember my mom
Were
coming.
you in India there or in America?
We were in India when I was 4. And I remember my mom going, what's happening? I was like, I can't eat. It's, it's fish. How can we have fish at home? Like, I was so traumatized. And, my poor mom's concern all her life has been that all I ever wanted to eat was white rice, yogurt, lentil, and my dessert was white rice, milk, almonds, and sugar.
Wow.
And so who has that weird of a diet, right? No chilies. So my whole life I've never touched chilies, and I'm an Indian. What kind of an Indian am I?
Right.
So it became clear to me as I started looking back that I'm probably not even a human. I know it's a strange thing to say on camera for the first time publicly, but I think we are spirits from different dimensions. And I think some spirits are more human in the sense they love food and they love the chilies and they love the alcohol. I was never a drinker. I went to undergrad, one shot and I'd knock out. And then once I got colon cancer, I wouldn't drink at all because I've never wanted it. I've never smoked. And no matter what people told me, like I had friends who smoked, I had friends who drank, because I went to Wharton undergrad, Philly was party town and everyone was partying their lungs out. And here I was partying, but not drinking. And it just wasn't something I wanted to do. Naturally, nothing to do with my parents. So I just realized, oh, I'm different. And again, I've always been different. A little bit of an introvert, did my own thing, read a book in a corner, never worried about other people's judgments, never reacted, never wanted to fit in, never did what I was told, just kind of followed my heart. So I have been different. And now I'm realizing that I'm here for a purpose. And I genuinely believe that both my health crises were to get me back on path. I'd fallen off the path. By the way, I've been volunteering since I was 10, to my parents' chagrin again, because I'd be like, take me to United Way. There's a walk that I must be a part of. And I've prayed all my life, even though they're not really big prayers. So I've been different. And now I realize that, my soul has a different version to it. And I am here for a purpose. And my cancer and my disease, whatever that thing was to get me back on track. And it did.
Yeah.
It did.
I've worked with hundreds of cancer patients, and I was almost 100% told me that the cancer, they were grateful for the cancer because it woke
Yes.
them up, and
Oh,
it got
yes.
them, to realize and appreciate life. Okay, speaking of being strange and weird and all that stuff, yesterday we did a fire ceremony with a Colombian shaman and his wife, and translator because he didn't speak English. So what was that experience like for you? Did it trigger anything? Did it remind you of anything? Did it bring anything for you?
Oh, it was incredible. It was incredible. So, without going into too many details, because I want people to come here and experience it for themselves, it is probably one of the most memorable experiences of my life so far.
Beautiful.
From the initial setup and the fact that it was beautiful and light and warm when we started, to then the lighting of the fire, to the dancing around the fire,
Yeah.
and then what was so perfectly timed was that it was Diwali,
Yeah.
and we lit candles, and the way we did it, and the prayer. That prayer was so powerful. I recorded and I shared it. And the prayer was from the love of God, from God's heart to your heart,
Yeah.
from the love of God to your love, from the light of God to your light. We forget that we have a direct connect to light and love. And we don't have to go anywhere. We can just sit here and close our eyes and say, I want to connect with your heart.
Yeah.
And then tears will start flowing. So, of course, tears were flowing.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I ended up doing things that I've not done before. So I've had spiritual awakenings. So my body does crazy things. And I do have these energetic releases. Yesterday, I ended up doing this yoga pose that I used to see
Yeah,
in
I saw
my
you. Yeah.
visions. When I would pray, from very little, I would see myself in Golden Temple, which I've only been once, standing in the water with my, 1 foot up all the way.
Yeah.
And I do that in Bikram yoga.
When I saw you doing that, I was thinking of Bikram yoga because I used to do it every day for like 10 years.
Exactly. So Bikram doesn't go all the way up, right?
No.
So Bikram you do here.
Right.
And then you go down.
Right.
So this is where the arms are all the way up. It's a very specific pose. And it's been in my memory since childhood.
Wow.
But yesterday was the first time that on my own, my body got into it. And I stood like that for a long
It was
time.
like, yes, you did. And because the spirit was so powerful.
Yes.
And
And I only moved because they told me, like, let's now sit down. And I was like, okay. That was a really long time to hold a pose like that.
yeah.
Which is, again, spirit was alive. It wasn't me.
It was powerful. It was a really beautiful moment. I got teary-eyed too, especially when everybody went around and kind of told a little bit about themselves. And there were some people there that said some things that kind of opened my heart and surprised me about them and brought tears to my eyes.
And sorry,
Go ahead.
to make sure everyone knows, the ceremony was actually for the protection of Mountains of Hope.
Yes, yes.
And it was so powerful because we saw the crystals that they buried underneath. And then the elements, there was corn and there was feathers and there was air. There were all these things that were put together and they've been buried. And then the fire was set and we were given all the details about how the fire was set up. It was incredibly educational and spiritually very, very moving. So Mountains of Hope is now protected.
Yeah.
Which is, again, for someone coming to visit here, knowing that there are crystals buried and there's a fire for their healing to be instantaneous is magical.
So I understand you met another Colombian, not a shaman, but we brought him in as a chiropractor, but he calls himself a witch doctor. So tell us about that experience.
Oscar, my man. Oh my God, I love Oscar. So I walk in with my typical I don't like chiropractors too much. And don't touch my spine because I'm on a spiritual path. I walk in with all my little ego. Because Sadhguru talks a lot about like, please don't let people touch your spine because that's where the magic is, and you don't want people messing with it, right? So that's been in my head, like, I don't want anyone touching it. So I go in kind of, and he looks at me, he goes, I'm a witch doctor. I go, oh, well, then you can touch me. Then I have no problems because I don't think you're going to mess with my spine. And he laughed, and I said, so what is the purpose? Like, what are we going to do? And he said, you'll see. And so he was very cryptic. And then he immediately got into the first three things, which first was a spray, inhale, and it was an instant trance. And then second was the fire, cleansing of the aura, which Sadhguru actually does. It's called Kaleshnash. So it was like a mini Kaleshnash. Very powerful way to cleanse out things that don't belong in your aura, which are there anyways. And then he used some crystals, and then he centered all the chakras. And then he got into the massage and a lot of different modalities of the massage. So there was a little bit like the acupuncture suction cups. This was like the most elaborate, extensive experience that I've had, a combination of like 5 modalities in one. And sure enough, he and I were chatting a little bit, and I said, what should I expect? And he's like, you'll see. And he's like, I'm an energy healer and I work with energy. And sure enough, I had visions and I broke down twice. And he kept saying, it's time.
Wow.
Your soul is not from here.
Wow.
It's time. And it's funny because those are the 2 lines that I hear constantly in my meditations. You're not from here, but it's time. And it's time for you to do what you're here to do. And, enough playing around. And so I couldn't stop crying because here was someone verbalizing what I've been hearing, but not necessarily accepting. And then of course, then I saw the visions, and, I saw my beings saying, you're our child. We would never, I'm going to start crying again. We're always with you. We're always with you. You're our child. So it was incredibly powerful, and I think it's what I needed to hear.
And I just want to elaborate a little bit for people that, hear energy healing and think woo-woo and all that stuff. Nikola Tesla, who actually invented electricity, it wasn't Edison, who was a genius, said a very famous quote, if you want to understand the universe, you have to understand energy, vibration, frequency. Because the truth of the matter is, now that quantum physics has come around, we understand that the basic building block of everything is atoms. And atoms are 99.9999% space. And so what is in the space? Energy, okay? The illusion is this is solid, okay? It's held together by electromagnetism. I believe in intention that I wanted to come into this body and have this physical experience, and God gave me this gift. But the energy, and that's all there really is. And everything is a frequency, vibrating at a different frequency. Blue vibrates at a different frequency than red different than yellow. That's all that's going on here. So this is why this energy work, this ceremony that we did, this fire ceremony, giving thanks to earth and food and God and sky and water and the 4 elements. This is what we need to get back to. We're too busy chasing just stuff that does not serve us, stuff that actually destroys us, stuff that actually destroys our family and our children and our grandchildren. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, that we wake up like Reena has, and we get in touch with ourselves and find our purpose like we're both doing, and to make this world a better place. And if we don't, I worry or concern about the future of my grandchildren. If we don't, what kind of experience are they going to have in the 3D physical reality? Or is it even going to exist? So,
I don't think it's going to exist.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel that the downward spiral that we're on, a lot more people need to wake up.
Yes.
Now, the good news is,
Yes.
it doesn't have to be that many more.
Right.
We just need a few more.
Yeah.
Because then we can tip. So
Yep.
frequency,
Yeah, we-
I don't know if you read the little
I read
article
half
that
of
I
it.
read.
And before you came to be
Yeah.
interviewed, I started to read it. Explain it. Talk to us.
Yeah.
Your theory on frequency and all this stuff.
So after all my crazy experiences and having gone in and really deeply researched and thought about this, the conclusion that I've reached is that we are living the life of our frequency. That's all it is. So if you're not happy with your life, change your frequency, change your life, which of course we know our dear friend
Dr. Joe.
talks about it all the time. Yeah, right? He says, change your personality, change your reality. I'm saying actually it's more profound and simple, meaning you don't even have to change your personality. You just have to fake it till you make it, baby. Change your frequency. And so I've written this little article that I'm going to publish about the connection between frequency, vibration, and energy. And also, how do you very quickly change? So, first, how do you know what frequency you're at? Number two, how do you then very quickly, very easily start to change it? Because what I do believe is that there are dimensions at other frequencies. So when people, especially in India or people that are on spiritual paths, they're communing with spirits and they're having conversations, it's all true. They're just a different frequency.
Right.
People who jump out of their body, jump back in,
Can tap in.
it's just a frequency. So to your point, this is actually just air.
Right.
We're seeing it because of some structures of the eye and the rods and the cones, and we're experiencing this as if this is real, but it really isn't. And it disappears and appears. It disappears. Where is it disappearing to? Where is it coming back from? Then we hear the layer that the Mandela effect on top of all of that. Things have been changing. People remember things differently. So this reality is not fixed. It's not fixed. It's air, and it's moving in and out. And it's your decision what frequency you choose. Now, if you're watching crap, you're reading the news, you're on social media, I am 100% convinced. I see this. You watch a movie. This literally happened 3 days ago before I got here. I was with someone, they were watching a show, and it had a lot of like anger and fighting and swearing. And it was a really good show. It's a very popular show. I think it's like one of the top 3 shows right now on Netflix. But so I don't watch TV. So I walk in and I'm listening, and I go, "Oh, what are you doing? This is gonna mess with your blah blah blah." An hour later, this person is saying things to me, and I go, "See, you're looking for a fight now. I told you. You watched something that was conflict filled, and now you're saying things. And I know you don't mean any of this. And it wasn't even a fight. It was just like, it was things that are poking things, right? Which the other person's going to react to. And now we're going to end up having a fight of some sort. That's the power of these shows. They make you want to go out and start swearing and have conflict. And we don't understand. It's not as like, oh, I love this show. It's like, it's so crazy. It's like, please, I beg everyone, please don't watch these shows.
Well, because the truth of the matter, if you read the patents when television first, there's so many warnings because it's putting us in a self-hypnotic trance, and they're programming our subconscious mind to buy what they want us to buy, to do what they want us to do, and believe their bullshit.
Watch how many food ads are on TV on your shows.
Or Big Pharma.
Or Big Pharma. It's those two.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, we got 1 minute. So tell the audience where they can hear about you, find you, follow you, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, thank you. So I've got a few things that I offer everyone for free. You can go to healcircle.org, and we have programs with some of these amazing. So there's, the gut healing programs and diabetes reverse, all these kinds of programs from MDs. In addition to that, they can go to healcircles.com. And that's actually a tribe. That's a community where you can come, you can join. And that's where we're birthing Blissvana. So Blissvana is, to me, what I'm being told to get on my path with. Blissvana has to exist because it is our future. And what is it? It's a community of people, of souls, that are choosing light over dark, that are choosing to be at a higher frequency, no matter what it takes. And it's a very simple decision. It's like, I want to be light. I'm done with my life. I don't like it. I don't want to be, sad, angry, depressed, suicidal, poor, conflict filled. I don't want that anymore. I want to choose light. Great. You want to choose light. You want to be high frequency. Now we'll show you the path. We'll tell you what needs to happen. These are simple things. It's just you have to prioritize it. And that's Blissvana. You can find Blissvana on Insta. We're just setting it up, but it's just BLISVANA. And the website is just blissvana.com. So come join our community, join the tribe, together globally. Let's create this community of light. I've got a whole charter. You can go to blissvana.com and read how I see this new love light birthing on earth.
Well, thank you very much for that. I'm so happy you were here, and I appreciate you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mike.
All right, folks. So as you can see, this lovely young lady has created something where you can go and join this community. You don't have to be alone fighting this stuff, figuring life out. There's so many resources out there for you right now, and the world needs you. And the other thing I would suggest, besides going to her website, joining the community, taking some of her education courses and learning about this, look in the mirror every morning and every night before you go to bed. Look deep into your eyes and say, I love you 25 times in the morning and in the night. Because that's the real answer, is to fall in love with yourself again. Move from the head back into this beautiful heart. Ask for wisdom from the creator of all. And if you don't know your purpose, what you're supposed to be doing, ask, and the answer will come. That's all for me today, folks. Until next week, go out there, live the life of your dreams, and manifest everything that you truly desire. Thank you from the bottom of my heart in supporting me in bringing my message of hope, health, and abundance to as many people as possible. Will you please like, subscribe, and share this podcast episode? And I hope one day to meet you at Mountains of Hope, a place for deep healing and transformation.